There's a moment in the end of The Wizard of Oz that has bothered me my entire life, including from the time I was a little child. And that's the part where Dorothy loses her ride home. The wizard takes off in the balloon, and Glinda arrives in her bubble and tells Dorothy, "It's okay. You have the power to go home to Kansas. You had it the whole time." And the Scarecrow says, "Well, why didn't you tell her?" And Glinda's answer is, "Because you wouldn't have believed me." Okay, that always bothered me as a child. I was like, "Well, you could have tried. Maybe you could have told her there's magic in her shoes, and if she believes, she can avoid this treacherous journey on this yellow brick road, and she can avoid the Wicked Witch and the flying monkeys, and she can avoid becoming a murderer of witches." But she doesn't. And as a story coach and a storyteller and somebody who's looked at the hero's journey for many, many years and recognized that it is a masculine journey, I was even teaching The Wizard of Oz versus Wicked last year, throughout the last year, to my clients and customers, and talking writers and talking about how, like, that moment when Glinda tells her you had to go on this long, treacherous journey because you wouldn't have believed, and you had to learn the lessons. And what are the lessons you learn? And she says that home is here. That what I was telling my students. That's the essence of the hero's journey. At the beginning of the story, the hero's told, "These are your choices. This is what you need to do. This is what you can do." And the hero doesn't believe. The hero has to go through all these challenges. So I've been teaching that for a while. Now, here we go in my own life. What I've realized on the spiritual quest I've been on, and I'm feeling a little bit disillusioned, is a lot of the gurus and the people in the spiritual field have kind of taken on the hero's journey as sort of like their own mechanism for teaching enlightenment. It's a similar hierarchical, like, a methodology, which says, you can't really reach enlightenment. You have to go down the yellow brick road to get to Oz, right? Oz is enlightenment. And you can't really get there unless you fight the monkeys, unless you fight the witch and face your head demons head on and have ego death and all those things. And we've all sort of bought into it, right? Like, I bought into it because it's the hero's journey. It makes sense. Like, we have to struggle to rise spiritually, to raise our vibrations. Except for lately, I became so disillusioned. I sort of going down a different path, and I sort of became that little girl that I was back in the moment, and said, "Well, heck, if I've had these ruby slippers all the time, why don't I just click my heels and stop going into the woods where I know there's danger, where I know there's struggle, where I know there's bad things? Why don't I just acknowledge that the power is within me? I have the power, the spiritual energy. I am source energy." From a spiritual viewpoint, I might not have the power to control everything in my life or the world around me, but I am source energy. And that's what we all want to get to on our spiritual journey. We want to know that we've reached enlightenment, or that we've come into our full power. But do we need to keep learning lessons, and do we need to keep struggling, and do we need to keep suffering to get there? I don't know, but it feels to me as if I was Dorothy on the yellow brick road, and I'm really happy to be making my way to Oz for these past decade or whatever. But it's almost like along the way, it's not just the scarecrow popping up to help me. He's sort of like, "Buy this, try this, try this, and you'll get smarter." And then what if the Tin Man showed up and said to me, "Try this, and your heart will expand, and you'll grow more expansive in your love." And then what if Cowardly Lion showed up in my life and said, "You know what? You're not brave enough. You have to face your fears in the dark." Like, I get it. Like, the Wizard of Oz is an allegory for all of that. But what I think it has become is also something that's been monetized. Like, if there was just a point where we could get from one point of the yellow brick road to the end to enlightenment, I think we'd all do it. But I think we're being kept on this spiral because there's money to be made in keeping us searching, seeking, chasing. And I think also a lot of it is because there's all that noise, there's all that background noise, fear. The witch is the fear, right? She's keeping us from getting to our end of our journey. Other people's issues. We're people pleasers, like Dorothy. Getting involved with this Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Lion is just a way for us to delay our journey. You know, you know, like waiting to get to Oz and have some man save us or show us the way. It's sort of like, no, I have more power than that. I have the power within me. So I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm a storyteller, because I look at mythology and the hero's journey, and because I've seen how I no longer want to get on the yellow brick road just to get all the way to the end and for somebody to tell me you had the power within you all along. Because I think what happened over the holidays this year is I realized I have the power within me all along. So I'm not buying any more products, workshops, services that are telling me just try this, just you need to raise your vibration, you need to clear your energy, you need to clear your blocks. No. Yes, in the physical plane, there are things keeping me from being happy, perhaps. But in my spiritual plane, in my energetic plane, I am already pure source energy. And I don't need to do anything to acknowledge that and accept that. That's the I am. And that's the part where Dorothy gets to at the end when Glinda tells her. But she makes her suffer and struggle. And she does so with a smile on her face. She says, oopsie, guess I should have let you know that you could have gotten there all along. It was right there. So I'm trying to tell people that before we keep plunging into following gurus and following mentors and following guides who are telling us that we're not ready, that we're not, worthy, that we're not valuable, that we somehow have to struggle and challenge, that that's only true if you believe the distraction and the noise that you have to be at a certain level to accept that you're already pure source energy. So that's where I am today. And I'm going down my own road, separate from this yellow brick road. And I'm clicking my heels 3 times and seeing if it takes me exactly where I need to go, which is home, which is me, which doesn't change no matter where I go.